Thank you for joining us today. As I mentioned, I'm Alyson Johnson, and um, Moriah is with me, and we are presenting on smart home and ALS, maintaining your independence with technology. I think we have it on another slide yet. We will have time for questions at the end, or if you don't want to forget them, please drop them in the chat box and we will review all questions at the end of the presentation. Um, and then for people who have maybe more complex situations that they would like to talk through, we will save those as well for the very end. That way, if people don't want to stay on, they can drop off. If they don't want to go through the deeper dive with us. But we will be reviewing specific equipment that can be beneficial for people living with ALS. Mo,
So,
review.
we're really glad you guys could join us today. Alice and I really want to make this kind of a general overview. So as we're going through, just know if you have those questions, put them in. But really, we're going to keep it kind of broad just to get you thinking about smart home and thinking about how it might benefit you. So the big question is, what is smart home? Well, really, it's taking your amenities, the things you already have in your home, and fitting them with technology. So that way you can control them without having to reach out, touch, or interact with them the way you normally would. So that it can be done through some automation, pre-programming, voice control. Things will go on into a little deeper as we talk during the education hour. And then with these devices, we'll talk about how you run those things around your home. Next slide. So what does this mean? So it means making you more independent. So there's going to be probably instances, maybe you can already think of a couple where, man, I just can't do that the way I want to or how I used to anymore. Or maybe I have to ask somebody for help around your home. And it can make it where you're able to keep that independence and that accessibility. It can also help contribute to well-being by being able to pursue leisure activities, connect with friends and family where you might not have other opportunities. You get that customization. I mean, one thing about smart home, it's gone really commercial. So there are a lot of pieces that you can pick and choose from to really kind of meet your needs and your preferences. And with it being commercially available, it's not in a medical supply store, it's financially affordable, especially if we can partner it with some of the equipment we have in our program. Next slide. Okay, so what do we need to make your home smart? The first thing is internet or Wi-Fi. In a lot of these cases, it has to be password protected. So it can't be a network that's a general open to the public. The way the Wi-Fi or internet's provided can be through like a data plan, like a hotspot, or your typical internet provider you have. If you have that internet connection, then we look at a smartphone or tablet. So the smartphone or tablet, like iPad, Android phones, iPhones, those are going to house the apps that allow you to interact with some of the devices we talk about. Now, on all of these devices, you have what we call digital assistants. So you might have heard Siri, Google Assistant, Samsung has its own Bixby. The Google or assistants are what we kind of phrase when we're talking about voice access. So just know that if you have a smartphone or tablet, you have touch access, but you also have voice access through those digital assistants. And I know the wording can get tripped up, so that's why we're gonna keep referring back to digital assistants as Siri, Google Assistant, and Bixby. And then we have all of our devices. So we have speakers. So that is, for instance, Amazon Echo. Now, Amazon Echo works with Alexa, which is a digital assistant. Or you have Google Home, which works with Google Assistant, which is that digital assistant. And that means that voice activation. We also then have accessories, and those accessories are going to depend on what you want to do in your home. And we'll make sure we go through some of our devices to get you guys thinking about what might work for you. Next slide. So question we get asked is, Can our home be smart without Wi-Fi? Simple answer, yes, it can. However, even though the answer is yes, the setups can be very complicated. So just we want to bring this up so that way, depending on what your house is, if you have Wi-Fi or not, know that that does not eliminate you from smart home, but it really is on a case by case basis on what we can do or what tech might work for you. So what that can look at is contacting like I said, Alyson is a guru. She's really good at problem solving specific situations to know what equipment might be there. Matt Gonzalez is a colleague of ours as well. He manages the National Virtual Home program, and he's really good with the tech too. So they're both Alyson and Matt are really willing to help discuss. So if you bring them a situation, say, "Hey, I don't have Wi-Fi, but I want to do this," they can help walk through, see what might work for you, but they're not going to be able to help install or set up. That's going to come from a family member or someone closer to you who can help hand on. Um, if you feel like you want a little more hands-on assistance, you can always try connecting with your state tech program. So every state has a grant-funded state tech program that has their own equipment and technology experts as well. So the link on the slide there, we'll make sure we send that out. But that's where you can find your local state program and see what resources they have there for maybe a little more hands-on help. Next slide. So before we get into what you can do with smart home, I always come back to is how can you control your smart home? So the first avenue is always through touch. Like we talked about before, if you have a smart home, did I say smart home? Smartphone or a tablet or maybe even the device that we send you itself, you can interact with those via touch. So using your hands. Everything we talk about today is going to have its own app, meaning that you can use your hands on a screen or with a stylus to kind of touch and run a device. You can also use your voice. So those digital assistants that we mentioned, Siri, Google Assistant, Alexa, those can help make voice access for you to be able to run the devices. One thing we like to bring up is through the speakers, so that Alexa or the Google Home or the Apple Home, they recognize commands from a speech generating device, whether it's a formal device or maybe an app you have. They have been programmed to recognize that. So I'm going to have Alyson click on that Alexa page sets. So this will show you an example of something you could pre-program into your device, and Alexa will recognize it. So you can kind of see some of the commands. The comma is really important because it gives it the spacing, the pause to launch the device, and then listen for the command. Don't worry, we can send this out for you guys too if you need or will have questions. But it's really great for people to know that if you are someone who uses an app or a device for communication, the speakers are designed to recognize those. So that still gives you voice acts, even if it's not your voice saying the command.
Hold on a second. I gotta move.
What happens when I give you the thing to go in and out of?
Yeah,
And then
okay.
there's alternative input. So I have a couple of things listed, like a Bluetooth mouse, a head mouse, a switch. So if you're not able to touch your phone or your tablet and you don't want to use your voice, you can also use different ways to interact with your smartphone and tablet. So that might be through a head mouse or a switch. So that kind of covers, looking at, I don't want to use a speaker or a device, but I still want to be able to use the app on my phone. Alternative input can help match that. Next slide. And I'm going to toss it now to Alyson to talk a little bit more about the devices.
Yeah. So there are, like Mo had mentioned, many commercially available speakers nowadays. Google and Apple offer speakers as well. We are going to focus this presentation though on the Amazon smart home technology. So that would be the Echoes using the Alexa assistant for the speakers. And that's only because that seems to be what we tend to have most in our loan pool. And um, most people are familiar with Amazon, and then you're not getting into the Android Apple debacle. So Alexa and the Amazon speakers and plugs do work well with both Android and Apple. Um, so they just seem to be the most versatile, which is why we offer them. So this is just some examples on the screen of some of the Amazon Echo speakers or a show with the screen, the video screen. So there are some differences if you do a speaker only versus a speaker with a screen. Um, they both, the screen, the Echo shows can do everything that the speaker can do. However, the Echo shows with the screen have that added video and touch screen input. So they can do a little bit more than what just the speaker can do. However, I think I have it on the next slide. Yes, okay. So, however, the speaker devices themselves are very cost effective. I believe they're under $20 now if you go with just the Echo Dot. When it's Black Friday or Prime days, you can get a lot of good deals on the speakers. So if you are looking to do multiple rooms or locations, the speakers are the most cost-effective way to go. They are, as I said, they're limited to audio input, audio entertainment, and voice control input. So you can hear everything on a speaker. You can do music. You can ask questions. You can get forecasts, weather forecasts, things like that. So any kind of audio entertainment that you're looking for, the speaker is really good with, and it can do the voice control and pair up with smart plugs and control devices as well. The screens, so that Echo Show with the screen, they are more expensive. However, you do get the option of visual entertainment along with the audio. You can put your Netflix account on, pair your Netflix account and stream movies or TV. If you have Hulu, any of those types of things, you can download those apps to the screen and do those um, streaming apps. You can play games, different things like that. Um, it is a touch screen, so you have that extra operating input. One of the downfalls is the camera on the screen is on all the time. There is a physical shutter that you can close, so but you have to be able to close it physically. When if someone I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself. If someone drops in, and wants to video chat with you on the screen, um, you do have the opportunity to quickly voice activate, and tell the screen to shut down and turn off. Um, but there also then is that physical shutter that you can close and open. So there's less privacy with that screen feature. Um, but it does allow you to connect with like the Ring doorbells and the cameras. So you can see who's at the door, who's walking around your property, or if you have it in a room, you can see and speak to someone in the next room without getting up. So there's pros and cons to the camera and the screens. Um, so just a little thing on what the speakers can do. Um, so with the Amazon Alexa, um, it can help in emergency situations. For example, if someone were to fall, while it cannot call 911 directly, you can program in your contacts and have one or two emergency contacts listed, and you can activate a skill like this Ask My Buddy or SOS Family, and it will call out to your emergency contacts, and they can call 911 for you and give your location. We do have links to those skills and then examples on how to set that up. Um, you can pay a monthly or annual fee to Amazon for their emergency assistance program. It's fairly reasonable. It's like $5.99 a month if you're a Prime member, or I believe it's like $59 annually, again, if you're a Prime member. But it's very similar to Life Alert. There's always someone on the other end. They respond if you were to call out and say you've fallen. They keep a list of your contacts. They keep a list of your medical information, um, medications, um, access to the house. So if you have a code to get into the garage, they'll pass that on to the emergency responders. And they also will work with your contact list and keep everybody updated as far as to what's going on so that your family is getting up to date notifications as far as what's happening. So there used to be a free version called the Amazon Guard, and that is no longer available. This has replaced that. However, you can still go with like the Ask My Buddy or the SOS Family in situations like that. And it will, like I said, it'll call out an emergency contact who then would need to dial 911 um, and get help to you if something were to happen. So um, it can assist in emergency situations, which is nice. And both the speaker and the screens would do that. This is what I was talking about before. Um, it does offer hands-free communication between devices. So you can do drop-ins and announcements. So what that is I can tell my speaker, my Amazon Echo, to announce to the household that dinner is ready. So whatever device I have, whether it be, on the first floor or the second floor or out in the garage, it's going to make that announcement that dinner is ready so that anybody who's nearby will know that dinner is ready. It's a one-way communication to make an announcement. The drop-in feature allows for two-way communications between people. So I can drop in to say my husband out in the garage and say, honey, what do you want for dinner? And he can respond to me. Or, you can say, you can drop in, um, to someone in the other room and say, I need help, or I want to get up. And then someone can come, a caregiver can come and help you and assist. And you can speak back and forth with a drop-in. What's nice is you can be in the same house. So within, the same house, or if I had a caregiver, or like if my grandma, who lives in Neenah, had a speaker as well, and I connected her to my account. I can drop in on her in a completely different house and see how she's doing, see if she needs help, and we can have that two-way communication, just as if we were using walkie-talkies, but all visual, all verbal communication. You're not having to hold anything down. And distance isn't a factor. So it's nice. It does take some setup, but that is something that is very useful with the speakers. And you can do the drop-ins with the screen as well. So that's why I was talking about privacy. So if I were to drop in on grandma and she had the screen, she had the Echo Show with the screen, she would not have to touch that device to accept the call or anything. The screen just comes on and I can visually see her or her room that that device is in and make sure that she's okay. So, maybe she has fallen or something and I can visually see that and then get her some assistance and help. But so it is nice that the person on the other end doesn't have to do anything to accept that call, but it does, you would want to make sure that there's that, you have an understanding as far as privacy, especially if you put a screen in like a bedroom. Um, and then, yep, the announcements are just one-way communication. So additional things that the speakers can do, uh, they can remind you to take medications. If you have them connected to a video doorbell system, if someone presses that doorbell, the screen will light up and show you who's at the front door. What's nice is if you link that to a deadbolt, you can verbally tell your speaker to unlock the front door and it would unlock the door for that person if you want to let them in. You can do video calls. Um, it does not do FaceTime calls for our Apple families, but it will do Amazon video calls. And so you can speak, and do those video calls or regular calls through the device, whether it's a speaker with regular calls or the video calls with a screen device. They help manage your calendars, so you can put doctor's appointments on there and get alerts to that. You can link your Amazon shopping to a speaker, and then if you need to reorder like paper toweling or toilet paper or a food item, or you want to order a dog bed for your dog or what have you, you can add those to your shopping list and make purchases verbally. Um, you can listen to music, audiobooks, get news flashes. They'll give you the weather forecast. Um, you can watch TV or live stream with the Echo Show. As we mentioned, you can control your environment. So if you have them hooked up to different smart plugs or devices, you can turn lights on and off, fans on and off, um, bunch of different things we'll go through a little later. And you can set timers or scenes for controlling multiple devices. Um, can I show them all? I forget, is it now? We love Alexa and Amazon here at my house. So I do have it set up to show you guys like how we have it arranged.
I
But
think
that's
wait till we
later.
get through some of the devices, then that
Later.
way you can
Okay.
show them some more.
I get so excited. Um, but and then I just will put this in there for my husband because he does like to make Alexa fart often. So it will do farting sounds if you tell her to, but you have to enable that skill.
I'm not quite sure how.
Alexa stop. So yes, that's exciting as well. I'll add that in there. I didn't put it as a bullet point, but It is. You can do fun things, tell jokes. It's a lot of fun. Um, so here, the jokes. So again, music, books, listen to podcasts, do your shopping, listen to the radio, do some meditation, guided meditation. If you like jokes and trivia, and then the calling as well. And then back
Okay.
to Mo.
Okay, so like I mean it. If you have questions, Allison, she's not lying. She knows this stuff. We can go through more examples when we get to the end. We're going to talk about devices. So we went through that speaker part, really kind of diving into what those speakers and their digital assistants can do. Now let's talk about actual devices and what they can do. These are the ones that interact with your home amenities and allow you that access piece. So we have light bulbs, smart plugs, switch bots. We'll go more specifically. We have these kind of doubled up just so you can see them, and then we'll break them down. So I know it's going to be a repeat, but it's just so you can kind of absorb them. We also have smart deadbolts, Wise cameras, and then the camera doorbells or the Ring doorbells. Okay, so we're going to kind of break down why this, then that. So like a smart bulb. So a smart bulb has all the technology you need in the bulb itself, meaning that if you unscrew that light bulb and take out a normal light bulb, put that light bulb in, the technology you need is all built in there. You don't need any other devices to make it run. So it can be really helpful with something like a lamp or a freestanding lighting surface. Recessed lighting, overhead lighting gets a little tricky. It's not impossible, as Alyson will probably be able to walk you through, but it's one of those ones where it gets a little more complicated. So with families who have used the smart bulbs, they usually say, like to keep the smart bulbs to like lamps, especially. A smart plug is a little different. So the smart plug controls the device by cutting power at the outlet. So it's a really great, simple device, but it can only work for items that have a physical knob, lever, switch to turn on and off. So a good way I like to think about it is, say we're all in the Midwest, you have a storm and it cuts your power, and then your power comes back on. Everything that turns on when the power comes on is something that smart plug can usually control. So if that helps you to think about it like a light switch, a physical knob, anything like that, that's what the smart plug is going to run. It is not going to run anything with like a push button, because once that power is cut, you'd have to physically push that button to get it started again. However, next slide, we have both finger bots and switch bots. So these are what we like to use in instances where you want to run something that has that push button, that has that thing you need to reach or be able to touch to turn on and off. These are what we also like to use to run overhead or recessed lighting. So the way they work with the recessed lighting depends on the faceplate, so that you need that paddle faceplate to run them. But these are usually a simpler setup than trying to do like a smart bulb in all of your recessed lighting situations. Alyson talked about the Ring doorbells, we call them camera doorbells. What's nice about them is that it allows you to see who's at the door and have a two-way talk at the door. And people have said, we like that because I might not be able to get to the door, but I can answer the door, tell them to leave it. Or if you pair it with the deadbolt, like Alyson said, you can let somebody in. I actually had a family where both the husband and the wife were at home, but she worked during the day, so he had wanted to be able to answer the door for her so she didn't have to end her meeting. And this worked really well for them, so that he could continue to do that so she could keep working. Next slide. The other pieces we have are the smart deadbolt lock and the Wise camera. So we already kind of talked about that smart deadbolt, why that's a benefit. We do have specific measurements if you're looking at the smart deadbolt on what it works with. So we'd have to talk about that. And then with the Wise camera, What can be nice about the Wise camera, it is a Wi-Fi based camera. So that means you can be outside your home shopping and pull up the camera and see what's going on. It does pan around, it has motion activation, and then it does allow for a two-way communication. I've had families really like this device in a sense that they want to check on a loved one, but it can also be used in the home if you want to check on something you can't get to. So I had a gentleman who could not get to certain parts of the home with his power chair, but he wanted to be able to check on his kids, talk to his kids. So he used these in his home that way so he could still engage with his kids, make sure they weren't getting into trouble because he wasn't able to get to those parts of the home from his power chair. So it's um, really creative. A lot of it's just thinking about where you would want help and how we can get these devices to maybe fit. And I think I forgot to say, because I'm almost as excited as Alyson, that these are the devices we carry in our loan program. So not only are they good devices that can be used with somebody living with ALS and their families, but these are devices we can offer for you guys to try in your home, see if they work for you.
Nice.
So what can they do? So we talked a lot about this. Alyson has examples if she wants to share to. I have a picture. This is one of my favorite pictures. I didn't come up with this, but I had to share it. Where the two buttons you see is to run a lift chair. And so the lady that owns this lift chair can no longer run the buttons physically, but she has her speech device say the Alexa commands that then run those switch bots to move her chair up and down. So again, the more creative, there's maybe not the perfect way to do it, but we can try to brainstorm and see if it will work. So we talked about the lights. The fans are really good. I honestly, and Alyson can chime in, when it comes to like personal preferences and temperature, I've seen people really like the ability to control fans or like a heated blanket or a personal space heater to make sure that they're comfortable getting to that lamp if you want to turn the lights on and off at night. I even had somebody set up Christmas lights once because they wanted to turn their Christmas lights on and off by themselves during the day. Chatting with somebody at the door. I'm going to talk about the printer in the garage door. You already see the lift chair remote, but then Alyson can talk a little bit about the COTA assist. All of these examples are things we've done for people. So for instance, the printer, I had a lady who liked to work in her living room. She'd get everything set up, work from her computer, but then if she wanted to print something, it was all the way back in her office. And we all know those printer buttons on some of the devices are kind of tucked in the back. So we got her a switch bot. That way, if she decided she wanted to print something, she just gave the command and then it was printed. She could pick it up later. The same thing with the garage door. A gentleman who just couldn't get up to hit the garage door to open it to go outside because he went outside his ramp through the garage. So it was a really nice situation where he then again used one of those devices to hit his garage door button so then he could go inside and outside through the garage on his own.
Yes, and then I had a family as well who the gentleman was able to put his cough assist mask on, but because of the location of the button, he wasn't able to press it. And so we were able to pair it with one of the finger bots, and he could voice activate and make sure that it was turned on for him, and then still do his cough assist in suction machine actually independently because his wife had worked outside of the home and he was alone for brief moments and so that he found to be very helpful. I wanted to bring up too, I don't think we have it in this presentation because it's not something that we offer, but there are the speakers in the Amazon Echoes and stuff do pair with temperature control like a Nest thermostat. So if you would want to talk more about that, that's not something we can provide because it is something that needs to be hardwired into your home. But that is something that you could also control with a speaker or through the app on your phone, that type of thing, if you needed to adjust your thermostat within your home. Temperature control is so tricky. But that is a feature that you can do. We just don't offer those Nest thermostats because they are hardwired in. So some low-tech smart home systems. We wanted to make sure to touch a little bit on some low-tech options. Not everybody is comfortable or wants to do the smart home stuff. And we do have in our loan program some lower tech items that can be used, like baby monitors within the home. They even make ones now with cameras and two-way communication through a monitor system like that. So you could use something like that as a caregiver pager system almost, and let someone know you're on the way, through that monitor. Uh, there's also very sensitive uh, touch doorbells. So this is actually a doorbell system, a wireless doorbell system. This piece would be the one that you touch, and it just needs the lightest of touches. This is plugged in somewhere in the home, and it would chime, uh, just like a doorbell would. So your person living with ALS, you just press this button, and then the caregiver would be alerted to that chime. There are pager systems too that you can wear. There's ones that can be switch adapted. Uh, the thing with these is you have to test the batteries frequently and make sure that the receiver and the remote are working on a routine basis. And depending on the construction of your home and the materials used, it could be a little finicky. So you do want to test it, but I would say that with anything. Even with your Wi-Fi, you can have spotty, you know, um, rooms, or, once you go outside as well, it gets a little tricky with those Wi-Fi signals, and there's ways around that. We can do save that for towards the end, and discuss ways of expanding like your Wi-Fi network and stuff, but um, we wanted to make note of these options as well. Oops, I stopped sharing. I hit the wrong button. I'm sorry. Let me get back up on there. Oh, okay. Oh, hit the wrong button. All right, here we go.
Okay,
Yeah.
so how do you get the tech? So you have to be registered with us. So in Iowa, Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Wisconsin, we have that smart home program available. I have to say sorry if there's anyone from Michigan, but we're hoping to expand this to you. We're still happy to talk about equipment if you want, or see what's in that state tech program as well. So don't feel like you're on an island if you want to look at what smart home can do for you. Like we said before, you should have password protected Wi-Fi in your home. If you're living in an assisted living facility or skilled facility, talk to them about what their Wi-Fi permits. Not only in terms of protection and what they are allowed onto the Wi-Fi, but the range, because that can be tricky too. You need to have a smartphone or a tablet. And if you don't have one, ask us. That might be something we're able to provide through the loan pool. And then you have to contact your care services manager to get started. Next slide. So expectations we have if you're participating in the program. Anything that's lent from the association needs to be returned when it's no longer in use or if it's broken. When you do return devices, we do ask that you can reset them. So If you say you have a tablet from us and you have your user ID, make sure you take that personal information, reset that device so it makes it easier for us to get it out to the next person. If you can keep the box that everything comes in, again, that makes it just easier for us to help get it back turned around out to somebody else. And then you can contact your care services manager or our colleague, Valerie Bombardier, to coordinate the return of items. So Valerie is the communication and assistive technology equipment manager. You might see emails or communication from her. You can always reach out to her directly if you're having issues with the equipment and needing something new or something different. And then we ask that you have family, friends, or a contractor, anybody assist with the install and training. We do have some limited support we can provide via Zoom or some of the links, but we're not going to be able to be hands-on to set up the equipment or help you. We have some of the resources provided at the end that give you some really good guidance. And then we're always looking for family or friends who want to volunteer. So we do have a volunteer up in the Twin Cities area that's willing to help with tech, but if you have some techie family members and they want to be able to give back and volunteer in our family assistance program, that would be wonderful. That is one of the things that they're able to help with. And if in doubt, always YouTube, walk it through. So here are some of the resources. These are highlighted in the presentation, and then we put them at the bottom too, because these work with the devices we have listed. Anyway, so that's the big rundown. We want to make sure we take questions, and then again, if you want to see certain things, Alyson might be able to demonstrate, or if you want to do a deeper dive, we can do that. I just want to make sure we answer general questions before we go down maybe into a path where not everybody wants to hear about the setup. And trust me, Alyson and I can do that deep dive with you all day.
Sweet.
So any questions? Oh, I'm sorry, Alyson.
Will you be sending out this PowerPoint that has the links to look up how to do some of this?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
Okay, Beth asked her who in Iowa we should contact on the smart home stuff.
Who in Iowa should we contact about the smart
Home stuff.
home stuff?
Bev, you'll want to contact Kristen.
Okay.
Yep, and I can, Cheryl too, I can help you guys if you want to stay on later or just call you later and help you get connected with Kristen. But Kristen's who you're going to want to talk to.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Have anything you need to know?
Dan did put in the chat that he had good success expanding his Wi-Fi coverage with a mesh system. So yes, those are helpful if you have kind of like your dead areas or you want to go outside a little bit more. The mesh systems help expand like your network coverage. And then Steve Berg commented that he has a Samsung smartwatch, which are very helpful and it can pair well so you can speak right into your watch as well.
And that's where both Steve, Dan, if you guys have certain experiences like that you have found useful if you're using smart home, or if anybody has smart home that they're using and finds it useful, I'd love to hear from you, because those anecdotes are really helpful to take back to others, to give them a sense of, here are some ideas, or here's what's going well or not going well.
Speak to that. I got set up with a lot of this smart home stuff last year, and it's awesome. And ALS Association provided me with some smart bulbs. I got some Alexas, including the screen one. I got the Ring doorbell and the door lock. And I learned a few things that I ought to have been using these more, because in July I broke my arm. But I broke my arm because I was trying to hurry, which I can't do anymore. I can still walk, but not the same as it used to be. And I had my button to my garage door up on the wall in my garage. but I can't lift my arms up very well above my waist. So I kind of like, tried to like whoop my arm up and boom, I fell in the garage and broke my arm. Well, duh, you can put the garage, I took a garage door opener, got one on my key fob, put one down, so that was a dumb thing. So that push button thing is interesting to me for some of the push button things. I don't have that.
Mhm.
But also, shoot, I figured out the door lock, unlock, and I've used that because one day I fell and I voice texted my neighbor and she said, how am I going to get in? And I said, I can unlock the door. So that was great. The thing is though, also, because I can't turn my key in the lock anymore, I figured out, well, when people come to pick me up, I don't need to go out the garage door and then try to close the door. I can just go out my front door and then I go on my phone, boom, 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 lock the door. So now I use that like when I go on a walk or something. I don't need to take my keys with me. I just take my phone. And then so I'm using them more. I wish I had done that in July so I wouldn't have had to go through the hell of 2 months of a cast on my arm. But anyway, it's been great. Thank you so much because I'm very lucky to have this. I live alone and I'm very lucky to have all this stuff. And I use the lights all the time because light switches on a wall are too hard for me to turn. And then the thing on the light. So I might even try to experiment buying my own bulbs and trying some in the overhead lights, like in my kitchen. Because when I get up in the morning and at night when I leave, it's hard for me to reach my arm up high enough. So I'm like trying to turn the light switch up with my shoulder, So anyway, we're lucky to have this. So thank you for all that you've done for me already. I'm in Minnesota.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you. Linda?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. I love it I play bananagrams, words with friends or Scrabble. And it is so all I say is Alexa is QAID, a legitimate word, Scrabble. It is it's so much fun. Little things it's really good. I love it.
I'm keeping that one as an anecdote, Linda.
She is very knowledgeable. My husband always asks her for different questions all the time, or like the latest scores on his favorite teams. So,
Just
Anyone
knowing
else
what,
have questions? Oh, go ahead, Linda.
just knowing when you say, what's the temperature supposed to be today in Ham Lake, 3 o'clock, and it tells you.
Nice.
mhm. It is
You know
nice.
how else I use mine is sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I know that I don't get up now or you're gonna be really tired. So I'll just say, Alexa, what time is it? And she'll tell me 12 a.m. And then I'll be like, okay, Lisa, go back to sleep. I use it a lot. That's like maybe how I use it more than anything. I ask her what time it is. So
Mhm.
How about that?
You should say you talk to Alexa more than me.
I just wanted to mention, Steve had put in the chat that the Samsung smartwatch has the fall detection in it. Not just the Samsung version, but any of the smartwatches. Most of them, depending on the model and stuff, have that fall detection built in now, which is very helpful. Especially if you go out and about in your community as well. They have that GPS abilities. And that the Waze cameras work well and do have a garage door opener version. So for Lisa there, that was in the chat. Yes, Linda.
Did you say it could even control like the electric blanket, an electric
Mhm.
remote control? That's what I'll have to work on
Yeah.
that. for this
So I
winter.
do have
It's
set up. This
Oh,
is our
demonstration time.
heater, our electric heater, and a lamp with our Alexa there on it. So I can say, Alexa, hello,
okay.
and that turns our lamp on. This lamp um is so the way we have it set up, this is called Brad's light. That's my husband's name. And I have a light in the other room and it's called Allison's light. But instead of always saying, turn Allison's light on, turn Brad's light on, we connected them by saying, so every time we say, Alexa, hello, it will just turn both lights on. But if we want to turn just one on or one off, then we use the specific name. And then if we're leaving and we say, Alexa, goodbye, Alexa,
Power supply.
it thinks I said Christmas lights, and our Christmas lights device is not connected right now. Alexa, goodbye.
Okay.
It will turn both lights off for us. And then if we say, Alexa, turn the fireplace on. Alexa, turn the fireplace on.
Okay.
Our space heater will turn on, and then our dogs come running because they love the heat, and we'll snuggle up right there
That's cute.
to get the heat. So yeah. But it is very helpful. You know, I will add, you know, as you saw, they're not perfect. It is still Wi-Fi. So you might have to repeat a phrase or, you know, say things twice. If the internet goes or the Wi-Fi goes down, you know, you need to have a backup plan in place because your devices, you know, like your speakers are not going to work. So it is always helpful to have a um, backup device in place in those events. But what is nice is when the electricity comes back on, after you have all of this set up, everything should just reconnect by itself, which is very handy. You don't have to go through all the setup and process again. So, or if you move things like that beyond connecting everything to new Wi-Fi, it's everything finds itself again. So it is pretty handy. It looks like. Yes. So Steve mentioned that there are the rocker style light switches that he uses his elbow with. And for this design as well, those switch bats are very handy because they can press down on that, and then there's a sticky that pulls up. So you can tell your Alexa to turn the light off on one of those rocker style light switches, and it will push it down and turn your lights off. And then when you want it to come back on, the sticky part grabs it and pulls it open. It, you know, turns it back on. So those are very helpful with these paddle style switches like this, or the rocker ones. So those switch bots or finger bots will control those switches for you.
Yep.
So you don't have to necessarily redo all of your recessed lighting. You can just operate your switch. But I will mention a nice thing about the light bulbs is you can control the amount of light and the temperature of the light. So if you want a white light or a yellow light, or you want it very bright or very dim, you can do that. We have them in our upstairs. So we just tell Alexa to turn our bedroom on and it turns all the lights on. But we have the light set at like a specific level. So it's not like super bright in the bedroom. It's more of a dimmer light. And then you can do, if your light bulbs do it, you can do different colors and things like that. We have outside floodlights that we can control with Alexa. So then like at Christmas time, we always have them flashing green and red and doing Christmas colors or purple and, you know, something for Halloween. So it's nice. You can have fun with it. Okay.
I'm gonna have to hop off. And honestly, though, if you want a deeper dive, you're gonna have Alyson would be the best person to go to. I just tell you, when I've worked with people trying to decide smart home, think about what you would want to do, where your frustration is, because that's the best way to start. Is what's giving you trouble? Is there a device? Yes, and then we back up to how can we control the device, or how do you want to run the device? So usually it all starts about what's going to be helpful to you. And on that, thank you for coming. I'm gonna hop off. And
Thank you.
happy to answer questions if you guys want to reach out to us too.
Yeah, and I can stay
Yeah.
on if anyone would like to chat more. I will stop the recording though. I see we're still recording though. So we'll give that a stop.